Hey, it's Marley and time to start a new reading vlog. So this month for my reading vlog theme, I thought it'd be fun to read book recommendations from my coworkers. I decided to do this because I realized one day I actually had received 3 different book recommendations from 3 different coworkers. I obviously read a lot and am a very bookish person, so it makes sense that I am talking to people about books even in the workplace, and some of my coworkers had some books they wanted to recommend me. All 3 of them are pretty different, so we have a fun little range here. So I'll just quickly introduce you to the books and then we can hop into the vlog. So first of all, I'm going to be reading one nonfiction book called Bad Therapy: Why Kids Aren't Growing Up, and this is by Abigail Shrier. Obviously, we know therapy has a lot of positive things that it can do for people, especially people who have dealt with, traumatic experiences or have mental health issues, but I think this book is going to talk about how kids are getting over therapized. I don't know if that's a word, but it's going to talk about maybe more of the negative effects of therapy on kids. So this one should be interesting. And then we have a YA contemporary romance book called XOXO, and this is by Axie Oh. I believe this has to do with like a K-pop star. It takes place in Korea, so it's giving some K-drama vibes. My coworker that recommended this to me is really into K-dramas and K-pop, so she thought this was a really cute book. And the last one, this maybe wasn't necessarily a book recommendation, but I know I talked to a coworker about this book and she enjoyed it, and that is called My Husband by Ventura. I think this is a little bit more of a literary, maybe mysterious type of book, and I think it's about this woman who is obsessed with her husband. I'm excited to read all 3 of these books, and I will also take you with me as I do some fun things in the first couple weeks of September. I'll be attending TIFF, Toronto International Film Festival, so I can show you some of my experience with that. And I think I'm also attending another event with actually one of my coworkers that recommended me one of these books. So I'll try to include some B-roll footage of that as well. Let's get into the vlog. Hey guys, I'm here with my coworker slash friend Emily, the one who recommended me XOXO, and this is why she recommended it.
I think Marley should read XOXO because it's literally a K-drama in a book. So if you're a fan of K-dramas, K-pop, anything like that, this is the perfect one, and I think she'll love it because it's such a cute little YA romance.
Hey, I thought I would just close out the little Beetlejuice section. It's been a couple days since I went to that event with Emily. Again, shout out to her. I will link her account so you can go follow her. She has a lot more followers than me. But it was really fun. We got this like goodie bag thing at the end that I thought I would show you quickly. And of course, there's this little card promoting to go see the movie when it comes out September 6th. So when I upload this, it'll be out already. As for my review of the movie, I actually really liked it. Beetlejuice. I was not a huge fan of the first movie, to be honest. I only watched it a couple years ago. I never had any nostalgic feelings towards it. I didn't watch it growing up, so I didn't really love it, but this sequel I actually really like. So I would recommend seeing it. If you are an original fan of Beetlejuice, or if you didn't even like the original that much, I still think you should watch the sequel. It would be a great movie to watch this fall. Then I also got this like Sally Hansen promotion. They were partnering with Sally Hansen, the nail polish company, so they were like painting people's nails. They were only doing like 4 nails, but I got these like I don't know if it's focusing, but like they did polka dots on my nails. Then I got these Beetlejuice sunglasses, which I'll probably give to Dakota. That's nice. I'll probably give this also to Dakota, but look at this, a Beetlejuice Fanta drink, Haunted Apple. So I wish I could drink this, but I am diabetic, as we know, so 42 grams of sugar. No thank you. But yeah, this was really cool. It was a nice fun little event, so thank you again to Emily for taking me. TIFF officially starts tonight, so I'll start going to the festival as well starting today. I'm only 25% of the way through the first book for this vlog, so I'll hold off on my opinions on that until I'm like halfway through, but I just thought I should check in and wrap up this little Beetlejuice section of the vlog.
how we tell our stories about ourselves, how we learn through other people's stories, how we share both the particularity of our own stories and the universality of their experience, makes Canada an incredibly effective place to make movies, to create stories, and share them with the world.
There was just something so real about making this movie, and it was just unlike any experience I've ever had. For the boys, this is the first time you guys are seeing the movie ever, right?
Yeah, this is the first time, and it was unreal. It was so cool and nostalgic and so funny and fun to watch.
I wouldn't have been able to do any of the stuff without the safety that this man had for me and held me and allowed me to be.
Feels like one of those films where you kind of don't want to know what the scene will be. You kind of don't want to know what the next take's going to be. And that can only happen if you have a scene partner who you can just pay attention to and tune into and listen to and know that you will end up in the most honest, authentic place with. And that's Florence, and that's Ren. And I think as soon as we do it.
Hey, so I'm finally able to check in here for an actual bookish update. Obviously, I've been going to TIFF so I can tell you my movie reviews after. And I'm about to head out again, but I did reach the halfway point in Bad Therapy by Abigail Shrier, or whatever her name was. I don't think this is like my favorite book ever, but it is interesting. As you can imagine from the title, it is obviously exploring the fact that therapy can sometimes have negative effects on specifically kids, and how in this current generation, or like Gen Z and even younger, I guess, parents are kind of maybe babying the kids a little, putting them in therapy too much, having too much of focus on feelings. It's creating these kids who are soft, who are overly sensitive, and just not growing up, which is part of the title of the book. Now, a bit of a hot take, just because I feel like personally what I've been seeing in media so much has been like therapy is good and everyone should go to therapy and all this kind of stuff. You know, I could see some people being like against what this book is trying to say. I think you should still give it a chance. So I lean more towards agreeing with this author. I do feel like it seems like we're going way too far in one direction, where yeah, I do think too many people are probably going to therapy, getting medication at like too young of an age. And she makes a disclaimer in the beginning of the book and continues to make disclaimers throughout that this is obviously not for everyone, what she's saying. Like, obviously there are some kids and some people who are really, really traumatized. They've had, you know, maybe they've been sexually abused or something really intense like that, and obviously those people need help, whether it's therapy, medications, whatever. So she does make a disclaimer of like, she's not talking about those types of people. She's talking about like the general average person who, you know, their biggest trauma is like they're stressed about making friends, or like their parents had a fight, or I don't know, like obviously lesser intense situations. I feel like I do tend to agree. I think there's certain parts of this book where I don't love how the author is like telling the information and stuff. I don't love how she's putting it all together, let's say, but I do lean to more towards like agreeing with her, even though I'm not a parent, I'm not a teacher, I don't work in a school system. I think if you are one of those things, you are dealing more with like kids in your life, you'd be able to like relate to what she's saying more. I know at TIFF I was speaking with a teacher in line and I told her about this book, and she's a retired teacher, but she was like, that sounds like it's true, like and she just recently working with kids, and the person who recommended this to me, my coworker, is a parent of young children, and he said this was really eye-opening for him as a parent. So I think if you're one of those people, you're expecting to be a parent soon, something like that, this would be interesting to read, just to have a different perspective of maybe this overly like you need to put your kids in therapy, you need to have them talk about feelings first kind of stuff. There's this word she talks about, iatrogenesis or something like that, and it's basically the concept of like harm being caused by medical professionals. Obviously they're supposed to like cure people, but sometimes like it can be whatever the doctor does that actually causes the harm, and how that can happen a lot in therapy. How these kids can just be like normal kids, but then you put them in therapy and you're telling them they have these issues, so then they actually develop them. Because kids are so like, they're still growing, they're going through these different phases. Like maybe they're sad right now, but they're gonna get over it, you know what I mean? And then making them go to therapy and constantly talk about it and ruminate in their feelings. That's another word she's been saying. Like obviously ruminating in your feelings and just thinking about them constantly is not good. Like that's what anxiety and depression is like continuing to have these negative thoughts and like not moving past it. There's parts I'm not connecting with when she's talking so much about schools and how there's therapists in schools and all these things. And a lot of it, as I said, I don't work at a school or anything like that. Like maybe this is happening, but I find it I'm a little bit skeptical of that stuff. Like maybe it's just the rich schools that are having that. Like I can't picture schools actually having a lot of these things that she's talking about, but apparently there are some schools who are doing these certain things that they definitely shouldn't. So yeah, I think this could be eye-opening for you if you're someone who was, you know, thinking, oh, I need to constantly talk about feelings with my kids, I need to do that. You can see why that actually might not be the best, and it might actually be better to go back to like kind of the more authoritative parenting style, I guess. Anyways, in terms of TIFF, obviously you saw I got into Nutcrackers with Ben Stiller. Justin Trudeau was there, the prime minister, really random, but that was cool. Yeah, Ben Stiller and the rest of the cast. I actually loved that movie, so whenever it comes out, I highly recommend. It's kind of like a very basic story, but it's one that just always is so heartwarming because it's about Ben's character, who's like this very grumpy businessman, and when his sister passes, he has to go take care of her kids, and it's these 4 boys who are very kind of wild, and obviously they're grieving as well. And these kids are actually all brothers in real life too, and that's what inspired the director to like make this movie, was because he knows these kids in real life and they're so like charismatic and funny, and they really were. But basically Ben's character is like growing to love them as he's trying to find a foster family for them because he doesn't want to take care of them at the beginning. So kind of like a House in the Cerulean Sea kind of vibe if we're comparing to a book. And then last night I tried to get into one movie and didn't, and I did manage to get into We Live in Time, which has Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. So that was so cool to see them in person. They had a Q&A after as well. The movie was really, really beautiful as well. Another one I highly recommend when it comes out. It's like a romantic drama, but there is still comedy in there as well. Obviously those 2 actors are like so good, and so it's very like complex and they can pull off a lot, but we're just seeing their whole relationship, and I don't want to spoil like what kind of issues they have in their relationship, but you see throughout their whole relationship. Okay, stop saying relationship. Anyways, when that comes out too, definitely see it. So this is a good festival so far. I know last year I wasn't loving all the movies I ended up seeing, so hopefully we keep going with some awesome ones, and I'm going back there today, literally right now, so we'll see what else I can get into.
It was all joy all the time. So this came to me from Mike, and I read it very quickly, and I had the great pleasure that I think hopefully you just had, I knew initially that he'd asked me to play Chuck, and I opened the screenplay and I was reading it going, wow, who is Chuck? He's on the billboard, he's on the radio.
First of all, it's just been such a pleasure to watch this film on this big screen. It's the first time I've seen it on a big screen. I've never been to TIFF before, so...
Hello.
Good question.
Same question. Hello, Toronto. They're trying to wrangle a child is very at the forefront of my mind and my life experience at the time. So, but also, you know, I was living the joy of having a baby, and so I felt that what he really wanted was very close to my heart all the time.
I missed it last year because we were having an actor's strike, and so it's it's really great to get to be here. It's been actually quite a while, and it's a privilege to get to show in this beautiful theater, and it's really hard to get small budget films made, and this place makes it possible to show them and hopefully share them with the world after. And so it's such a gift to get to be here with this film.
All right, I have just been absorbed in all things TIFF, but we are due for a reading update. Last time I checked in, I thought I was at the halfway point in bad therapy, but it turns out I was way closer to the end than I thought, because the majority of the last half of the book was just references, which is all for cited work. So I was actually like almost done the book when I checked in. So I don't know if I have really any more thoughts to add to it. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars though. I think that's what I rated it. As I said before, I do connect with her message that she was trying to share. I think I overall agree with it from what I've observed in, you know, the people I talk to that have kids and are teachers or whatever. And even in my own experience, I'm not technically Gen Z, but even myself, like I see how there's such a focus on like young people going to therapy and such a focus on like talking about mental health issues like so much. And even my TikTok feed, like sometimes it'll be telling me like I have all these different disorders that I definitely don't have. Like maybe I have some of them, I probably do have some of them, but like just how you're constantly being told that you have these mental health issues you need to focus on. I didn't overly connect though with everything that she was talking about, especially the school stuff. I don't read a ton of nonfiction, and I think the ones that I will enjoy more are the ones I'm going to connect with a little bit more. So as I said, I do overall recommend this book, especially for people who are going to be parents or are parents, and I see why my coworker recommended this to me. But yeah, not necessarily like my favorite book to read. I don't feel like I necessarily learned a ton. It's just kind of stuff I could have figured out for myself, just like living life. But you know what, still overall glad that I read it. Then I got into XOXO by Axie Oh, which is the young adult book on my list, and to be honest, I was a little bit distracted while reading this. I've been reading it while I've been attending TIFF and waiting in lines and stuff like that, and I feel like I keep getting a little bit distracted by like hearing people's conversations around me. So I want to give it the benefit of the doubt a little bit with that, but this is also not feeling like a book I'm gonna love. I'm leaning towards probably a 3-star for this one as well, but it is about our main character Jenny, and she is a Korean American girl living in Los Angeles with her mom. Her dad has passed away, and then she ends up meeting this boy one day at her uncle's karaoke business, and she just has this really nice night with him, bonding with him. He's from Korea, so she knows he's going back there, and then they kind of like stop talking when he goes back. But then when her mom gets an opportunity to go to Korea to visit her mother, Jenny decides to go with her because I guess kind of because she wants to stay with her mother, but also she's like, maybe I'll, you know, meet this guy again. And she ends up going to the same school as this guy. I think his name was Jae-woo, and she finds out he is a K-pop idol. So that is sort of the premise, and now she's just kind of been at the school meeting different friends, interacting with the other members of this K-pop group along with Jae-woo as well. So it is a fun premise, and I think it has a lot of like Korean culture involved. They're talking a lot about food, and all this stuff is very descriptive. So I think if you are a fan of K-pop, Korean culture, this book is for you. For me, like I'm not someone totally into that, so it is a little bit interesting learning more about the culture, but it's not necessarily something that's like an interest of mine. The young adult feel is really coming through. I think that's my biggest, I'll say, issue with it. I feel like it is feeling quite young adult, which is what it is, but I just think that that is kind of lessening my interest in it a little bit. But as I said, I've been quite distracted while reading it, so I feel bad about that, but hopefully I can focus more in the second half. Oh, I should also say it has to do with Jenny also plays the cello, and she's a musician, and that's why she's going to the same school as these other artists and singers and stuff like that. I definitely think there's a big audience for this book. I see why my coworker Emily liked it. I just think it's not necessarily my thing. In terms of a TIFF update, I've gone to a few more movies now. I did see The Life of Chuck, which was based on a Stephen King novella, which obviously I didn't read, but I am kind of interested in it now after watching this adaptation by Mike Flanagan, who of course has done all the Haunting of Hill House and those shows. This was really well done. Tom Hiddleston's in it, some other well-known actors. It was really beautiful. It is about life, is the easiest way to say it, and a lot of Mike Flanagan's usual cast that he puts in like all his projects have little cameos and stuff in this. So this was definitely a fun watch, especially for Mike Flanagan fans. It's not horror Her, which is a little bit different for him and Stephen King. But yeah, that one was good. Then I saw On Swift Horses, which I was really wanting to see because of Jacob Elordi, Daisy Edgar Jones, and Will Poulter, who I enjoy, you know, watching all of those actors. And I did enjoy watching the film to see them. I think they're all visually very appealing for me. But the movie, script, and overall movie just kind of flopped a little bit for me. It's probably one of my least favorite films I've seen so far, and I rated it 3 stars. But that is about gambling. It takes place in the 50s. It actually has more of a queer focus. I thought it would just be like a typical hetero romance between Jacob Elordi and Daisy's characters, but it's not. There's a queer vibe to it if that interests you at all. And then the last movie I've seen most recently was The Assessment, and this had Elizabeth Olsen in it. This again was not my favorite. It was very well acted. The performances for all 3 of the actors in this film were really, really good. But again, the script and kind of the overall story and movie wasn't like my favorite. So I gave this 3 stars as well. I'm very tired, but it's been a good festival so far. I've gotten into a lot of films where the actors have been there for a Q&A and stuff. So that's been exciting. All right, let's do a little check-in, a little vlog and life update. I decided to sit here because Peach really wanted to be in the video. It's been too long since she was featured. Anyways, I finished XOXO. It definitely, well, I don't want to say definitely, but I think it really was the fact that I was distracted reading the first half that was making me not love it, because getting into the second half of the book, I was focused way more on it and I was able to enjoy it so much more. It was really, really cute and really, really sweet. Obviously, only if you like reading contemporary young adult books, that's kind of your vibe, I think you'll like it. And especially if you are a K-pop fan or a Korean drama fan, which I know there's so many people out there, then this book would be really great for you. As I said, I'm not one of those people. I don't listen to K-pop or anything, but it was really sweet. I appreciated Jenny's relationship with her friends, especially that she made at her school. I appreciated her relationship with her mom. And of course, her relationship with Jae-woo was really cute too. I think it's just kind of like a heartwarming, sweet, pretty quick book to read. So overall, I think I am glad to read it, but I definitely don't want to, you know, be reading these types of books a lot. I think it's not really my taste anymore to be reading a lot of YA contemporary books, but it is nice to kind of sprinkle them in there every once in a while, you know? So yeah, thanks Emily for this recommendation. Now I'm going to move on to the final book, which I think is going to be pretty quick and hopefully it's the best one yet. In terms of a life update, I still have been attending TIFF, volunteering there, doing all this stuff, and I actually went to a TIFF party that a friend of mine invited me to, which was cool to kind of do something different. There was, you know, an open bar. Naomi Watts was there promoting her new like skincare brand, so I saw her from afar and we got like a product sample. And then we did meet an actor that we knew. So I don't know if any of you guys watched Legends of Tomorrow, which was like a DC superhero show, but the guy who played Gary in that show was there. We just were standing next to him and we're like, oh my god, is that Gary? And so we went over and chatted with him and got a photo with him. So that was really nice to at least to kind of recognize a Canadian actor that was there. So that was something nice that happened. Let's do a little vlog check-in. Sorry I'm sweaty, I just got home. I took a little break from TIFF today to go shopping with friends in the States. So I went to Target, I think for the first time. I actually don't know if I've been there before. I went to Primark as well. So I thought I'd do a little haul. I won't show the clothing I got, but the food might be a little bit more fun. From Target, I found these low sugar, low carb cereals. Cereal's pretty high carb generally and high sugar, but as a diabetic, I was very intrigued by these like lower carb options. I've heard of Magic Spoon before. It's grain-free cereal. So I'm interested to try this out. And then I got this other brand that also was pretty like low carb. So I'll try these out at some point on my channel. Maybe I'll do like a YouTube shorts of seeing how my blood sugars react when I eat them. We went to Trader Joe's too. So I got this like cookie mix because I do want to do some fall baking this year. Get more into that. And then I also got this candle that smelled exactly like a Honey Crisp apple, which I love. So just prepping for fall. I did, however, go see a TIFF movie last night, which I don't think I told you about. I saw The Last Showgirl with Pamela Anderson. I don't think I've seen Pamela Anderson in much before, but she was she was pretty good. I think the role really fit for her. It was about a Vegas showgirl who has been doing the show since the 80s, but now the show is finally closing because, as you know, it's not really like the thing to see anymore. They're like replacing it. So I'm not even exactly sure how old she's supposed to be. I think in her 50s maybe, and she's kind of figuring out what she's going to do with her life now that she is not going to be a showgirl, because this has been her whole life. And we see kind of what her relationship is like with her daughter. It's kind of estranged, and we see a couple of the other showgirls too. Like there's some other actors that are pretty well known in it, like Jamie Lee Curtis, Brenda Song, Kiernan Shipka, I think is her name. I give it like a 3-star rating. I did overall like it, but I just feel like I didn't love it, you know. In terms of book updates, so I have started My Husband. Got halfway through. This freaking tripod keeps falling. I don't know what to do. I'm liking it. It's pretty much just the premise of what I knew about it so far, where we're just following this woman's internal kind of monologue where she's obsessing over her husband, and she's trying to keep him in love with her because she feels super why is this so annoying, this tripod? She feels super like obsessed and in love with him, but she feels like he no longer is as into her. I think it's just her being crazy, to be honest, but we'll have to see where it goes. Like it could go in a really unhinged direction, or maybe it won't. It's a very quick, easy to read book, but I'm not necessarily liking the main character because I feel like she's like not super relatable or anything. It's more like you're just watching and you can't look away from like the cringeness of kind of her behavior. She like doesn't really feel very motherly towards her children. She doesn't really care about anyone else in the world other than her husband. So yeah, a bit of a spectacle. I am intrigued to see like how the second half is and where it goes, but the first half is kind of just the initial premise that we were expecting, a woman obsessing over her husband and how the little things he does bother her, feels like he doesn't love her anymore, blah blah blah. We'll just have to see where it goes. Sorry for the lack of b-roll, but I am back to close out this vlog. I finished My Husband. That sounded weird. I finished reading My Husband, and TIFF is officially over as well. In terms of the last movie that I saw at TIFF, it was Amelia Perez, which starred Zoe, I always forget her last name, Zoe Zendana, sorry, and Selena Gomez. Honestly, I did not know much going into this film. I had just been hearing good things about it, and I really liked it. I definitely would recommend watching this whenever it comes out. I think it was a Netflix movie, so it should be pretty accessible to people. It was a bit weird at first. I was taken aback. There are musical numbers, which I was not expecting. But yeah, the plot was quite interesting. It was quite unique. Again, with the musical aspect, I thought that was a unique way to tell the story. Overall, I would recommend that movie. And so now TIFF is officially done, and I can go back to my normal life and have more free time, thankfully. Then yeah, in terms of My Husband, so overall, like this book was just very entertaining, very consumable. Like if you're looking for a really quick, easy read, maybe to get you out of a reading slump or something like that, I would recommend this book overall, and I rated it 4 stars. The main character, like I don't know what exactly I would diagnose her with, but some sort of mental illness for sure. Like sometimes I thought she had OCD or narcissism or like schizophrenia, like I don't even know, but it's very like entertaining to read, to see kind of what her thought processes are. And then towards the end, there's a little bit of a reveal that kind of pushed the book to be like a higher rating for me, and I kind of appreciated that. This book definitely just proves like in a male-female relationship, man and woman relationship, like the man needs to be the one more in love with the woman. We cannot have that power imbalance where like the woman's more in love with the man, and I feel like that's like a known thing, and I feel like this book just proves it. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed all of the books I read in this vlog. I'm glad that I read them all, and overall, I would also recommend them to others. I think they're all pretty entertaining books, acceptable to recommend to your coworkers. So yeah, that's the end of this vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a comment below, whether it's a comment on any of the books I read or any of the movies I watched. And please subscribe if you have not already for more future reading vlogs. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in my next video soon. See ya!